It's the time for Legal and Finance Committee. We are in council chambers. It is July 1st, 2020. We will start with a roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Drury.
Here.
Drew. Here. Lewis. Here. Nordstrom. Here. Lehman. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. You have a motion to adopt by Nordstrom, second by Lewis. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we will go on to general public comment, a time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I have no general public comment forms. So we will go on to consent items 1 through 15. I see no public comments. So we close public comment on consent items. We'll now go to council if they have any items they would like to remove from consent. Okay, we have a motion to approve consent items 1 through 15 by Lewis, the second by Lehman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. General public comment 1 through 15 is approved. We will go to non-consent items, which is number 16. I'll read it in, and then we have a motion. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6430, an ordinance to change the permissible hours of sale of alcohol beverages for off-premise consumption by amending section 5.12.060 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Okay, we have a move to table by Lewis and a second by Lehman. Okay, for discussion,
I've been talking to, just because something's tabled doesn't mean you can't bring it back. Now, generally, it doesn't come back, but it doesn't mean you can't. I think the PD isn't sure if this is going to come back or not, but this isn't a continue 2 weeks. I think they want to have a longer discussion, look at the numbers, and have more conversations. So it may come back, it may not come back, but just because you're tabling doesn't mean it can't come back. I just think it just resolves it for now.
Okay. Everybody's clear then, and the motion was to table by Lewis and a second by Lehman. All in? Yeah.
Madam
The
Chair.
chair recognizes
Thank
Darla
you.
Drew.
Thank you. So if we table it here, does it come back to council at all, or is it done? Okay, thank you.
Okay. And are there any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we will go to community development, second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6428, an ordinance to clarify the retail sales component of microbreweries on conditional uses in the light industrial district by amending section 17.22.030 and of the Rapid City Municipal Code. We have a motion to approve by Lewis and a second by Nordstrom. See no discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 18, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6423, an ordinance amendment to recodify establishment and organization of the Historic Preservation Commission by removing section 17.54.010E and adding chapter 2.62 to the Rapid City Municipal Code. And the chair recognizes Darla Drew.
Since this is a legal and finance question, I guess I'll ask Joel. Could I ask Joel a question, please?
Certainly.
Mr. Landine, so how did this come to us that there wanted to be changes in this ordinance? Sarah? Okay, great.
Good afternoon, Sarah Hansel with Division of Long Range Planning. I am also the staff liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission. So little bit of background on this ordinance amendment. This is looking at the section of the code that establishes the Historic Preservation Commission and assigns them powers and duties. It's currently published in Chapter 17, which is generally our zoning section of the code. It was put there in 2015 because we also, in that general part of the code, describe the process for historic preservation. So today what we're looking at changing is just the membership requirements, so it's really more that administrative procedural portion. When some revisions to the preservation review process were made back in 2015, something that was added was to give sort of pretty clear direction on who is eligible to be a member of the commission. And we had been working with a consultant by the name of Jim Lee, who had recommended that we be sure to have stakeholders from historic districts serving on the commission. That makes sense, and we agreed with that then. We still agree with that now, but the way it was written, it was a pretty strict category. You have 3 people who must serve from West Boulevard, 3 people who must serve from downtown, and 3 people who must serve sort of from the professional preservation planning standpoint. But over time, we've just found that kind of difficult to keep up with. Someone is initially approved to be on the commission and they live downtown and they work downtown, well then they move to a new neighborhood and get a new job, and so suddenly they're still a wonderful contributing member on the commission, but now our categories are kind of messed up. So just over the last 5 years, we've really just kind of seen that come up over and over. So what we'd like to do is keep the intent of the ordinance with due regard for stakeholders, but just kind of give ourselves a little flexibility so that we don't feel so that we're not out of compliance with our own ordinance just because someone gets a different job in a different neighborhood.
Right, and am I understanding this correctly when it went from 6 voting members to 5 voting members? Is that correct? Or I said something about a change in...
Yep, the number of members does change with this. So with the 3 categories, there were two voting members in each category and 1 alternate. So we essentially had a 9-member commission. And honestly, since the time that this ordinance was adopted back in 2015, we haven't really had a full membership since then. There's always vacancies, and sometimes it's difficult to recruit for that particular board. So the number is reducing to 5 voting members plus 2 alternates, so we're going from 9 to 7.
Okay.
There's currently 1 vacancy on the board, so that means that none of the current members lose their position. We still have 1 vacancy.
How long can they serve then, just internally or what?
It is, gosh, I'd have to I think their terms are 2 years, I believe, and then they can renew a certain number of times.
It just seems like there's been a lot of the same people, so I just wondered. Okay, thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion to approve, and if I get a second, retain the floor.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to applaud Sarah Hensel specifically for working with everybody that's on the Planning Commission and doing a fantastic job about bringing in people that are interested in historic preservation. And by the way, just a footnote, we are also going through a history of the Rapid City area, and you'll be seeing a document coming out of that. So Sarah, you want to tell us a little bit about, I know it's kind of off topic, but I think this is interesting what you and the commission are doing for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the projects that they're working on right now, they're using their grant funding to do an update to their their preservation plan, and part of that is something called the historic context document. So the last time a historic context document was created for Rapid City was 1989, and so we started in the first phase kind of looking at updating that document and then updates to the preservation plan. They've been having community meetings and doing some internal sort of visioning and goal setting and kind of looking at, what have we accomplished since the last preservation plan and where do we want to go with the preservation program and priorities for the community.
Thank you. And just another footnote is that this group of commissioners that we have right now is an excellent group. And yes, it is correct that we've had some issues about getting a quorum for our meetings, but with this change, I feel very comfortable and confident that this group will be able to actually have real meetings now. So, and I understand everybody's busy and being able to keep their schedules and then plus attend the commission meetings, but I just enjoy working with this group. They're very very well educated and also fun to work with.
Great.
Thank you. I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Darla Drew.
Thank you for letting me come back in on this. Sarah, the importance of this historical district has been debated for a long time. Do you know what percentage of the homes in that have to actually stay in the historic mode that they were built to actually continue to have a historic district, which is very important to communities and drawing people in? What percentage of homes, and that's part of what this commission does, correct?
Yeah, let me make sure I'm understanding your question. Let me know if I missed something. But yeah, so part of what the commission does is they assist the city with historic review. Now, several years ago, their role was different. They had a much more active role in that process. They essentially took the lead on reviewing every building permit in the historic district that needed historic review. We've since switched to doing more of an administrative process, and generally the commission now only reviews a couple of projects a year. Usually it's kind of the big, it's not the day-to-day easy yes kind of projects. It's, you know, if there's a potential to for there to be damage to a historic building, that's kind of when they come in, they bring their expertise to, well, is there something we can do to mitigate this, or there is another solution we're not thinking of here, or, you know, they kind of provide that technical feedback. As to your question about the percentage of buildings, I'd have to look that up. I don't have it off the top of my head. We do have one of the largest historic districts in the state, if not the largest. There's over 1,000 resources in the West Boulevard district. And so depending on whether you're contributing or non-contributing, the standards kind of apply to you on a case-by-case basis, depending on what you're doing. But
Well, this is an important commission, and I'm really interested in the makeup of this, and I want to make sure that that district is preserved because it is a selling point for Rapid City. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, just so we're staying on topic, and the chair recognizes Mr. Nordstrom.
I'll do the best I can. The Planning Commission is also working with groups downtown as well. So just to follow up on what Alderwoman Drew's question is, that had to do with, in this case, is to do with placards, and some of the local businesses are helping us out on identifying some of the historic buildings in the downtown area. You care to share us a little bit about, I apologize, Chair, I apologize.
We have a motion for a point of order, and I think we are kind of off topic, and I'm sure that Ms. Hansel will be coming back when you've done your review and you have your update ready to inform the council what's going on and where everything sits at that time. But and we know you're passionate about it, Mr. Nordstrom, and we're glad you are. But I'm going to go ahead. We have a motion by Nordstrom and a second by Drew for item number 18. All in favor say aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Now we are going to number 19, introduction and first reading of ordinance 6434, an ordinance amendment to revise the requirement for a planned development overlay by amending section 17.50.050 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. We have a motion to approve by Nordstrom and a second by Lewis. Not seeing any discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Oh. All right. Darla Drew and the rest of the crew up here would like to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Our next meeting will be July 6th. Be safe. Yeah, don't be legal with your fireworks. Happy 4th of July. I would entertain, if there are no objections, we will adjourn. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.